Ready? The 11 July 2022 Jackson County Commission meeting is called to order. I'd like to welcome everybody that is here. So at this time, I'd like Ms. Johnson, the Assistant County Administrator, to please call the roll to establish a quorum.
Okay. Commissioner Rich?
Here.
Commissioner Venable?
Present.
Commissioner Butler? Absent. Commissioner McBride?
Present.
We do have a quorum, and at this time, if I can get everybody to please stand, I'll ask Mr. Porter, our County Attorney, to please offer an invocation, and I will lead us in the pledge of allegiance.
Our Father, we look around us every day and we see the beauty that you have provided for us, and we're thankful for these surroundings that we have, the beautiful mountains, the Great Lakes, and the wonderful environment. So God, we're thankful for these things that you provide for us, but we're even more thankful for the people of this county, because they're just as beautiful as the surroundings. We're ready to watch over us all, God. Guide us and direct us and be with these commissioners as they discuss the matters that are important to this county and make decisions that affect the people of the county. Watch over us all, God. In Christ's name.
Amen. Attention, salute, pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. This time the agenda is in everyone's packet. We have several items in new business and several items to discuss, planned for discuss in the work session. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
Can I add discussion to the work session, please?
And topic of discussion?
I would like to make a motion that we discuss our local roads. We were given a list, it's been a few meetings ago, to be chip sealed, and I would like to revisit that and maybe get an update from Jonathan and see what we need and how we can proceed with that.
So the motion is to add a topic to the work session to discuss the roads that are being proposed for our 2023 road plan.
Yes, sir.
Okay, do I have a motion to approve the agenda as requested? Well, first of all, we need to go through the process in addition. Do I have a motion to add the requested work item to our agenda? Do I have a motion to
I'll
add?
make that motion.
Do we have a second?
I'll second the motion.
Okay, we have a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All voted, so approved. So at this time, do I have a motion to approve today's agenda with the requested item added to the agenda in the work session?
I'll make that motion.
We have a motion, have a second?
I'll second.
We have a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. Do we have any awards and presentations? We do not. So at this time, we do have a public comment. Mr. Ray Hanson. Mr. Hanson, the podium is there. I need to ask you a couple of questions for the record.
Yes,
Questions are, please state your name.
Arthur Hanson.
Do you live in Jackson County? If not, where do you live?
I live in Huntsville, Alabama.
Okay, and you representing yourself or someone else?
Well, just me and the company I'm trying to
So
keep.
you're representing Cigna?
I am representing Cigna, yes.
Okay. Mr. Hanson, you will have 5 minutes. As we allow public comment, we make sure that we strive to maintain decorum with no disparaging comments about individuals or other providers.
Can I give you something?
Absolutely.
Okay. Doctor, since this so happens I talk pretty fast, let me hand it to you. I've only got 3 of these. So the first one page is just references. I normally do small businesses, and I'm an independent broker, and I know what everybody's got, from Aflac, Colonial, Liberty National. So you guys have got Liberty National. So those are just 20 businesses you could call up to see that I've came in and switched them from these other companies. So let's switch to the second page. Go to the second page real quick. Okay, do you see what I have circled over there on the red? Okay, Liberty National will sell you a lump sum $50,000 cancer policy, but they do not have group rates. So if you look at the ages, the older you get, the more it costs. Are you with me? Anything over 45 years old is going to go up exponentially, 51, 62. So the older you get, the more it costs. If you flip the page to the heart attack and stroke policy, you see what I've got circled there? They only go up to age 60 on their heart attack insurance. If you're 61, you can't get a lump sum $50,000 heart attack and stroke policy with them. They don't sell it. But to the ones they do, you see the price that I circled, $76.23. You see that? Okay, if we flip to the next page, Cigna has individual policies. And I can sell any one of you guys an individual policy on your own, not going through a group. If you see what I circled on the individual page, it goes up a lot as you get older, just like Liberty National. You see that? On the cancer or the heart. You with me? Okay, so here's what I want to show you here, just to go back to Liberty National. If you're 60-something years old, you're going to pay $120, $158 a month for that $50,000 cancer policy. The reason I work for Cigna is they have group rates. So group rates means they don't ask you how old you are. So if you flip to the next page, right here, you will see that no matter how old you are, their $50,000 lump sum cancer policy is $55 a month. Their $50,000 lump sum heart is $55 a month. And I can go all the way up to age 99. Okay, so if a lot of these businesses I've written up, the owner's a lot older, but we don't bring that into play with Cigna. So they don't ask you how old you are, they don't ask you if you smoke, they don't ask you how much you weigh. So anybody can get this policy as long as they can fog a mirror. Now the last part of it is the accident policy that Liberty sells, and y'all can take time to look at that later, but you can see where Liberty pays $1,000 to go into the hospital, Cigna pays $2,000. Liberty pays down here $300 on an ambulance, Cigna pays $750. Cigna pays $25,000 if you get killed in an accident, Cigna pays $75,000. And then if you go on over here to the next page, you see that they've got group rates on their accident policy too. So it turns out the older you get, the more you feel a need to have a cancer, heart attack, and stroke policy. And with Cigna, it doesn't matter how old you are, you pay the same rate, and you can't beat there anywhere in the country. I even called up Unum. They are still age banded. The older you get, the higher the prices are. So not only do they have the best policy I can find to sell, but they've got some excellent riders too. Not only will it pay you $50,000 up front, if it comes back in 2, 5, or 10 years, you get paid 25, 75, or 100% of the base amount again. They have a rider where if you don't use it, every year it goes up $1,000. So I can sell it to somebody in their 20s or 30s, and if they use it 20 or 30 years later, it's worth $20 or more, $30 more thousand because it goes up every year that they don't use it. Cigna has excellent customer service. When you call them up, they answer on the first ring. So I've been with them about 5 years. Before I was with Cigna, I was with Mutual of Omaha. And I wrote up a lot of policies with Mutual of Omaha. I wrote about 400 different businesses. But Mutual also is age banded. So when I sold the lady the Mutual of Omaha cancer policy, here it is right here, she was paying $45 a month for her $20,000 cancer policy. I switched her to Cigna on the group rate, even though she's 65 years old. Now she's getting $40,000 for the same thing she got $20,000 with Mutual. So nobody can beat, from the research I've done, nobody can beat Cigna's rates, period. And they can't beat their policies either. They actually go up to $75,000 on cancer or heart, but you have to do a phone interview. But if you see the rates versus everybody else, they can't be touched. In addition, there's a phrase called carcinoma in situ. Carcinoma in situ is cancer that has not spread. Most companies like Mutual of Omaha will only pay 25% of the base amount on carcinoma in situ, but Cigna pays 100% even on carcinoma in situ.
Mr. Henson, you're 5 minutes up. I'll give you 1 minute to close.
I think I just said it.
Okay.
If you want group rates, and you know these guys. Thank you for that. Liberty National is an excellent company, but
I would not have discussed Liberty National in terms of anything to disparage them.
I ain't disparaging them. I'm saying they're a great company, but I'm just telling you, as far as the numbers go, the older you get with them, the more they're going to charge you. And with Cigna, they don't. Everybody pays the same rate. If that don't say, that's the best selling point to everybody is, no matter how old you are, Cigna charges the same amount of money for everybody.
Okay.
Okay? That's it.
Mr. Henson, thank you. Any questions?
Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks, sir.
I do.
Thank you.
Give me this.
How long has Cigna been in business?
225 years.
25. I think they've been around
They've
a
got,
long time.
I found out they got 165 million customers. They're really known for their health insurance and their Medicare supplements. That's what everybody knows them for. But just to be honest with you, nobody else in Alabama is doing Cigna but me. I'm the only guy here selling the group supplemental benefits. They just don't know about it. They don't advertise it. But they're as good as it gets.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Hampton.
Bill, can I call you in a week, 2 weeks, you tell me what to do?
We will take it up as a
Call you.
discussion later with next meeting with the commission to see where we are.
Call
Okay,
you in a
and
month?
I'll let you know.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay, Bill, thank you. Appreciate y'all's time.
Thank you.
Okay, with that, we now will move into the new business portion of our meeting, and we have information in your packet. First is the meeting minutes from our 27 June meeting. Do I have a motion to adopt the minutes as provided from the June 27, 2022 meeting?
I'll make that
We have a
motion.
motion.
I'll second.
We have a second. Any discussion? No discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. Next in the packet is from our work session in our last meeting. We had a discussion about 117 and providing some topsoil. Do I have a motion to approve acquisition, delivery of topsoil to County Road 17, not 117, excuse me. County Road 17 excavation material waste site to assist in the establishment of permanent vegetation per agreement between Jackson County, Alabama and property owner dated March the 5th, 2020.
I'll make that motion as well.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
If you need any more of the field that what we got, I think we've got abundant supply.
Okay, thank you.
We can get a hold of it for free.
Okay. No, any other discussion, questions? Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. Next, we had a discussion about resurfacing request for County Road 189. That information is in the packet. At this time, do I have a motion to approve resurfacing County Road 189 using funds from Fund 119 as presented by the county engineer?
I'll make a motion.
We have a motion. Thanks, Jason.
Danny.
Okay, Benny. Second. We have a second.
I'll second.
Any discussion? No discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. Also, you're in the packet, we discussed at our last meeting the need for a budget amendment for public works. In the sheet, we have one sheet, a summary of what was provided at last meeting by our county administrator. This amendment is needed as a result of increased costs due to inflation and rising prices in several areas. In the top box, you have listed expenditure items that have been impacted as fuels, vehicle maintenance, and contract services. The next column was what was budgeted for our 2022 budget, the increases that we have seen in the next box, and then how we would amend each of those line items in our budget. The next box is our revenue that was projected. We initially budgeted $916,000. We have had an increase, and Mr. Campbell, correct me if I'm wrong, but that has principally been from revenue from FEMA payments, which would amend the revenue to $1.5 million. And then last is a summary of total revenues versus total expenditures, and that creates a deficit, not a deficit in the overall budget, but a deficit to what had been planned in budget from revenues expenditure for these items of about $833,000. The amendment would come from our cash balance fund. Current cash balance is $1.7 million. The deficit to be covered out of cash balance would be the $833,000, which would leave a projected ending cash balance of $875,000. Any questions? So do I have a motion to approve budget amendment for Public Works?
I will make it motion.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a second. Any further discussion? No discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
The motion carries. Thank you. Last item in our new business meeting is a motion to approve and sign the agreement between Jackson County Commission and State of Alabama relative to a pass-through of federal funds for a rural area project transportation, a public transportation project. The agreement is in the packet. This is an annual agreement that we sign every year, but I would like first go through the motion second, but then we'd like to have some discussion of changes from last year's to this year's by our Council of Aging Director. Do I have a motion to approve?
Can I ask a question first?
Certainly.
This is not for a specific road, it's for our federal aid dollars that we get annually.
Why don't you come on up to the microphone and let's discuss this.
This is for the 5311 grant that runs the entire transportation department for Jackson County. So that's where we get our funds for the buses.
So this is not anything new, it's.
No, it's something we're signing
We do it every
every year.
year.
All it's stating is that we're allowing a pass-through from federal funds to ALDOT to us. But the difference this year will be, I think I mentioned it last time, it's going back to 50-50 match on operations like it was pre-COVID versus it being 100% paid for with the CARES Act.
And I believe 80-20 on
And
admin.
80-20 on admin,
On admin.
which that's the same. It's been that's what it was last year.
So it does have in the agreement the same federal boilerplate that we always get in our agreements. So,
I'll make that motion.
okay, we do have a motion. Do we have a second?
I will second the motion.
Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, at this point, we will move into our work session portion of our meeting. The first item is EMA. At our last meeting, we discussed the storm shelter at Skyline School. Our EMA director, Paul Smith, was going to go and talk to the school principal about a potential of adjusting the site. So Josh, would you mind coming and giving us an update on where we are with that?
So Paul went and met with the principal at Skyline last week, and they were looking at the sites, and they agreed to look at the baseball field to put the shelter at, in that general area out there, to put one on each side of the school. And that information's been sent to state EMA and FEMA. We're waiting on an answer for that.
That move got them outside of the historical
Yes.
footprint, right?
So
Yes.
that's our understanding. We're just waiting for the blessing from state and FEMA to agree with us.
And if I understand right, it was only about a 200-yard move. It's still inside the school grounds. It's along paths. It's near roads.
Yes, sir.
Those things.
It should be pretty reasonably located for everybody and near the baseball field, so if they're having an event out there, they should be able to get there quickly if a storm pops up.
Okay.
They don't.
So with that, again, as Josh said, that has been submitted to FEMA for FEMA's approval. The good part about this is it eliminates our need to get an archaeologist involved who wanted $100,000 to do the archaeological surveys of the property. So, Josh, thanks. Next, just a couple of discussions just to, first is I'd like to discuss the potential, and we mentioned it last time, of locating cameras at selected locations around the county park. We had the incident at the playground of the destruction of the bathrooms. Would just like the thoughts on proceeding with looking at certain locations within the park that we may want to locate cameras for security. And the idea of getting a quote on camera prices, I would propose that we wait until we get our new park director on board to do that, but looking at trying to get some increased security for areas of the park. Any concerns, discussion, or thoughts or recommendations regarding that?
I certainly think we need a camera that would focus on getting people coming in and out of the park from the entrance, so you would know who's in the park. So if something were to happen, then you could trace back by timeline and find out who was in that area, possibly who shouldn't have been in that area.
Okay.
Also, it wouldn't be a bad idea to put one on the campground gate, just where you can view the campground gate area in case somebody has a theft or.
There is one there.
Is there one on the gate? Okay.
Okay, and at the
Overall.
play area,
Yeah.
have one there, playground.
Where do we have them at the park?
That's it.
Just at the,
It's on one in the whole park.
And we have some signage out that says that cameras are being used,
It's been there since before I was here. I don't
so
know.
we'll need to work. make sure-
how hard is it gonna be to,
Expensive.
the expensive?
Do we have
The distance
Wi-Fi?
has to be hardwired or can it work off Wi-Fi?
Not good. I wouldn't recommend it. We can try the cellular signal cameras again, but we didn't have much luck last time.
So you wouldn't recommend
Wireless cameras.
wireless cameras?
Charging becomes an issue.
Okay.
The bathroom area, out by the boat ramp, I mean, but the difficulty of getting from this point to this point.
From my understanding, the power board helped out a lot with the last one because we used their poles. So if they could help us with running wires between the poles.
Mr. Porter, would we be infringing on anybody's privacy?
We can't put them in,
I know that. My goodness, I wasn't suggesting that, sir.
But how,
Strike that from the film.
what,
Yeah.
your question just made me think that you were thinking that that's what we were thinking.
No, I wasn't thinking that. I mean, I
Okay,
know.
I think I will exercise my role here.
I know.
The question of Mr.
I
Porter.
knew when we was, sir, let me reiterate this. When we were doing the cameras for illegal dumping on the side of the roads, you were told us that we had to be on our property, it wasn't on private property, but this would be considered public property?
Sure. Yeah,
I mean,
this
so it
would be county property,
Yeah.
and so long as it is not in an enclosed area,
Right.
then you would expect privacy. There's no expectation of privacy out in the open, and cameras are fine.
Okay. As long as I just wanted to make sure about the cameras. Appreciate it. Thank you, sir.
So I would
Carry on.
Any other thoughts? I would suggest when the new park director gets in, we take a look at, having Colby and Ross take a look at areas we would recommend to the commission. And if any idea of, are we still on camera? Any idea of where we would want to locate cameras, bring that forward. So,
Not in the
thanks.
bathroom.
Okay, next up. We discussed and previously approved repair of the flooring at KC's. And in your packet, you have a couple of pieces of paper that represent that. First is the bid that we had from Luxury Vinyl Flooring, $5,212 to replace that. There was a thought at the time that that would be fairly extensive in having to replace some subfloor and some other items. And the bid did account for, if there was additional work to be done, that there would be increases in price. As I understand, the flooring is complete. That has been done. And the work necessary was not near as extensive as we thought. So I'd like maintenance director Mr. Colby can, or just give us a rundown, please.
It came down to them pretty much just replacing the hardwood in there. So we ended up saving about $2,600 off that initial estimate. Everything looks good over there. I went over there and checked it out. Crawled up underneath there just to double check in the subfloor, and it looks good. So it is complete, and we saved some money, so it's always a good thing.
So it looks like the quote, not quote, but the bill we're getting from Kimberly Ann's is $2,883
Yes, sir.
compared to the $5,200 that has been the contract price. Okay. Thanks very much. That's good news. Next is an update on not vandalism of the playground, but we had requested our insurance adjusters to take a look and give us an estimate of the cost to repair, and that is in your packet. If you will turn to what really is about the third page, we got an estimate on the ladies' restroom and an estimate on the men's restroom. The estimate for the ladies' restroom in terms of our insurance coverage was $3,820, and for the men's restroom is $3,811. With other items that the insurance adjuster provided for consideration, the insurance coverage would be $8,223.24. At the front of your packet, you do have a note from Gary Russell, who was with County Risk, to Bob Manning, our county administrator, stating the price of the estimate at $8,223, but also that we have a deductible amount of $5,000. So the amount that the county would get in terms of issue check would be $3,223. We now move to the consideration of how we do this. Given that it's under $15,000, we certainly do not have to go into state bid law and bid it out. We can get quotes and make a decision. But I've asked our maintenance director to take a look. Are there any things that we can do ourselves, given that we have a $5,000 deductible here, and see if we can cut the cost or our cost in repair. So let me open for discussions, or again, recommendations, and on how we would proceed with this. So any thoughts, recommendations?
I mean, absolutely, if we could do most of it in-house, that would help. And I think building materials and stuff's coming down a little bit, I think, Mr. Laurel.
But now, we would still, if we turn this into insurance, we're still paying $5,000. So you're looking at not using the insurance and fixing it ourselves? Am I looking at that wrong?
We would, they're going to give us a check for $3,200
Yeah.
after they deduct our deductible.
Okay.
So yeah, it's costing us in terms of deductible. We're not paying them though anything. It's just that we're only going to get the $3,200.
So they take it from the total.
So as much as we're able to do ourselves, we reduce the overall cost. After making an estimate of what work we can do ourselves, if there's work that we cannot do, I think I'd asked Director of Maintenance to bring that before the commission, lay the estimate out and what we can do ourselves, and then anything that we would have to contract for, and get approval from the commission.
The damage was mostly to like the toilet, the vanity, the toilet paper dispenser.
I actually haven't seen it yet, but I'm pretty sure, that's what I've been told, that it was just the toilet and the vanity and amenities in there, so. Most of that stuff can be replaced by us, unless they tore the piping out of the wall now, but, I mean, other than that, we should be able to fix it.
And the park maintenance guys can do some also. I mean, it's a busy time of year for them, having to cut grass and all.
I'm sure we'll get some help from them too when we start working on it.
One of the areas, I was out there the morning of that we discovered the damage. One of the issues that we saw that morning was that whenever they ripped out the faucets and basin, we had extensive flooding, not just inside both bathrooms, but also in the grounds itself. So one of the areas that they were looking at is whether or not there was any moisture damage in the wall. I think we probably ought to make sure we check that there's not an issue there. And I think other than the commodes and the basins and the plumbing issues, I think that was it. Probably need to do some painting when we repair. So, any other thoughts? So we'll proceed forward to look at what we can do and then bring back that estimate and then anything that we think we'll have to contract out to the commission for consideration. Okay. With that, we will move to the item that has been asked as an addition, and that is to look at our 2023 roads, rural county roads. And I'd like to have our Director of Public Works to address this, please.
Thank you, Chairman. Be happy to answer any questions or head any direction we need to. Sure. You gave us a list of roads that needed to be chip sealed, and then that's been a while back, several meetings ago, and I just wanted us to follow up and see what it's going to take to get us moving forward with some of these projects. I know the list had labor cost. It looked like for 3 years of labor cost was like $600,000, if I'm looking at that right. And that would increase your HMT 2s and one that would double them. This will kind of touch base with you and see what your thoughts are on what you guys need to move forward with paving some of these roads. You know, I took the liberty of driving some of the roads this past week, and 107, I mean, I hate to pick out just one road, but 107 is almost, it's terrible. You better have your seatbelt on. I mean, it's terrible, and that's not an uncommon thing, and I want us to start getting busy on some of these roads. So your thoughts on how we can help you as a commission to move forward with paving some of these roads on this list would be great.
So do I have the correct sheet?
Yes.
Is it this one?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So this was a follow-up sheet, just to recap. This was a sheet that was subsequent to a meeting that we had in the old commission room about road work, if I'm not mistaken. And this is, at this time, there was some discussion about ARPA funds and laying out a template for something consistent with a 3-year plan. So the labor component of that, and to back up a little more, in conjunction with the list of roads that was presented to you guys, that I think is the one you're referencing with 107 on, which is about a 50-mile list. So there was much discussion in different directions, I believe, but one thing that brought us to this was what can we get done in a year's time, and what's a realistic goal of what we could do in a year's time instead of 50 miles. So this was presented as a selection options, which by no means are we saying don't supplement what other roads you see fit. But this sheet was a 3-year component of labor. And in order to achieve 25 miles per year, we feel like this additional crew will be required due to the fact that we're only accomplishing about 10 now with in-house labor. So in order to get to the 25 mile per year in prepping the roads, local roads, then this additional crew was what was represented on this. Now, it's broken down and 200,000 per year over the course of 3 years for a total of 600,000. So the intent of that is that we're talking about personnel, and the challenges with one-time money that are presented there are, if we go into funding personnel of that magnitude, then we would request that over the period of 3 years. Also, additional discussion that I remember from that was, we would also maintain a $600,000 reserve in the event that our revenue did not catch up with this extended expenditure and we're beyond ARPA at that time, so that then we would have that reserve to go through attrition and reduce back down to a budget number that worked. So that was the labor component. The local road resurfacing, which is the second category of this, we have been able to afford 10 miles per year with current budgets. And that's equipment, materials, and labor. The labor and equipment is a component that is paid to the contractor if we go that route, which is the way we've been doing. We prepare the roads and then the contractor pays them. So all of those components for 10 miles has been routinely coming from Public Works budget. To make up for the 25 miles, and that leaves 15 additional miles that we feel must be supplemented for the budget to be able to afford the 25 miles per year. And that's in addition to the labor. So that's contractor, labor, and equipment that's represented in those numbers, as well as the additional materials that will be represented in those 15 miles additional to the 10 that basically we're routinely doing now.
Okay, any questions?
Mr. Campbell, last year, you presented, and Public Works Department had a certain amount of money that you guys could spend. And we supplemented that to get the whole list, which was 22 miles, 21 miles,
Yes, sir.
something like that last year. You guys have enough to do for us to approve any of that 50 miles? How is your cash setting for?
Cash balance?
Yeah,
Cash
without
balance.
us having to do out of the general fund any supplement, or out of ARPA any supplement.
So our current cash balance is about $1 million, but in the budget amendment that the chairman just went over, there was, the projected cash balance was upper eights. I'll just mention this, that that budget amendment addressed a few of the items. However, it did not look at current status of the other items. So there is a slight underrun if you consider all of the other items, with the exception to the major ones that were over. So that cash balance could be, up some from that at year's end, but I would suspect anywhere from the 8 to 1 million range.
Uncomfortable obligating any Public Works money at this time toward that list of local roads,
Anything above the 10 miles.
anything above 10 miles.
Yes, sir.
And our goal now is 25 miles per year.
With the
additional,
It'll take the additional labor to achieve that.
and that 600,000 you have would offset the cost after the 3-year period with attrition to those folks. When they leave, we don't replace them, correct?
Yes, sir. So, since a long time now, I'd have to look back to see exactly, but there's some comfort there in having some reserves in cash. So, below 600,000, for obvious reasons, is concerning. So, those dollars would need to be there regardless, but in worst case scenario, it could supplement labor until we could reduce naturally.
How many miles of roads are we getting with Rebuild Alabama?
Rebuild Alabama was almost 12 this year.
Okay, so total roads this year that we were able to get, Rural and Rebuild Alabama was what?
12 plus, we'll be at about, we'd have to add in 189 and add in high top circle, so we're going to be near 40 miles, 45 miles.
Of roads this year. Okay.
But Rebuild Alabama is restricted to major and minor collectors, right?
This body has elected to go that route with it. We didn't always go that way. We selected some local roads in the first round, and then since then, it's been all hot mix paved assets. So that don't necessarily mean major and minor collectors or federal aid routes, but it could be projects that ST dollars were spent on. But it's been all hot mix as of late.
What has been the ability to get contractors to the road projects that we need? So with the contractors that are available, what do you project, given their availability, that they would be able to serve in terms of roads?
I think this year we've, although not complete, we have probably the most going that I've seen. So even speaking with our assistant county engineer who was bringing state experience, they're usually a year or two behind on schedule. So if we look at what we have going and near finished, near complete, what we've done this year is probably near max, with the exception to additional in-house crews for preparation.
Okay. Any further discussion? I do believe we have got to seriously address roads. There's no doubt about that. And we need to have a serious, I think, work session that is focused totally on roads. What we can achieve in terms of mileage that we can get out of roads. We need to understand this year's 2023 budget to know what budget availability you have to consider where you are, and then additional funds that would be needed to do that. I know ARPA money has been put on the table for us to consider. We do need to look at the opportunity for that, but we also need to understand that ARPA funds are funds that have expiration dates of which we can use them for. I do think we also need to look at other opportunities. If we just put it all on the table, have the discussion about what are the opportunities to get to maximize the dollars that we can have. But we also, I would offer that as we look at ARPA funds, we need to look at, there are other things that we need to do in the county, such as we've got to fix this courthouse. We've got to fix the HVAC in this courthouse. And we've got to do a number of other things that if we don't use ARPA money for, then we're going to have to take it out of general fund. And we're probably going to have to, the only way we're going to do that is to borrow against general fund and then try to pay it back over time. But I do think we can service this. And I think we've got to put it all on the table, look at all options, have a real discussion about that. Put a lot of ideas on the table and come away with a plan. And I would hope that we can get a lot more miles. I know you and your crew are very much working towards achieving those. And I think I would propose, once again, let's try to have a special work session. Maybe it's one of our commission meetings where we dedicate the whole work session in the afternoon against the roads project. But we need to have this discussion on roads.
Let's do it the next meeting then, at the next work session.
Next work session.
Designate around the roads.
I know
It's not ours, if we need to.
there's some very important things that we need to get done with our ARPA funds. If we don't get done, they'll never get done.
That's right.
And we have some people that don't have potable water. It's gonna cost a lot of money to get potable water to them. If we don't do that now, with this opportunity, it's not gonna be done. We've got the issue with Jackson and DeKalb Water Department out there with their need of a $3.6 million clarifier system.
Yeah, the clarity pool has got to be planned.
That's close to probably 17% of Jackson County's population.
Yes.
Looking at their customer base. So
And in fact, we had a case where they had to shut down water service, weekend ago?
Yeah.
But here
Down
were 50
91,
hours
491.
that created some real problems, particularly up on the mountain in that service area we have.
No, they've agreed to match funds on that, correct?
Yeah, remember we we the commission, pull the water authorities together, had them submit their applications for projects that they needed in their districts to aid them, so we could get some of that state ARPA funds for water projects. Our agreement was that we would reserve some money, ARPA money, as matching, because that pot of money required matching, though some of it, and we hope most of it, could be funded at 100%, but there could be some matching requirements. So yeah, we have courthouse, we certainly have work on water. Broadband, we had reserved some money for broadband, but the state in this year's legislation looks like they will fund up to 80% of broadband costs to service providers. If they do that, the service providers would be required to fund the other 20%. And that, hopefully, if that happens, that gives us a chance to have $1 million that we had reserved somewhere else to take care of this. But we have 25% of our county still does not have broadband, or it's inadequate broadband. So we just need to put all those on the table and go find money. One question came up last time, and just a quick summary. I know there's been some concern about advance of Rebuild Alabama money. So I went and just got some data. This is just for information. The state platform for the county to get advance or borrow money against Rebuild Alabama, the state's put $250 million in a road and bridge fund. It's a loan program. The county can borrow at a AA rating. You can borrow against Rebuild and 754 to pay back the loan. But I think we all had a concern that would mean that we would have no Rebuild money in the future of that. Under the loan agreement, you could get about $5 million, has to be spent in 3 years, but you can only leverage 1/2 of Rebuild and 1/3 of 7. The rest has to stay in the county for county use year to year. So we would not. So that's just information for us to consider as a group.
And can it be used on any of our roads?
Yes.
All 1,100 miles of roads?
Yes.
Wouldn't be restricted?
As I understand, we would need to ask, but as I understand, it could be used how we see fit on roads. In fact, as you said earlier, previously, it was, I think we had used it, I could consider using it for rebuild, but that's something we need to check. The point of that, though, is that we could borrow at a very low interest rate, a portion, but would still have Rebuild and 7 money every year. And then you can work on what your payback period is, but we need a lot more information on that to make a decision on that. So just consideration of options for funding to be able to do what you're needing us to do.
Any other questions?
So next, we will make that our topic for the next work session.
Thank you, Jim.
Okay.
Thank you, John.
So, thank you. With that, we will move to reports from the staff and county administrator. Okay, thanks for putting the package together today and getting everything done. County engineer, anything further?
Nothing, sir, thank you.
County attorney?
Everything, thank you, sir.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay. With that, we'll move to comments from the commission. District 4, Commissioner McBride.
Nothing to add, sir, thank you.
District 2, Commissioner Bennett.
I don't have anything to add to that, sir, thank you.
District 1, Commissioner Rich.
I'd still like everybody to keep Kevin Duke family in prayers. Last meeting, I failed to, it just slipped my mind, just keep them in the Jackson County school system in everybody's prayers until we get this hurdle jumped over and back to operating smoothly. And of course, the technology center down there at Hollywood, it's going to have a special meaning to it now, I know, but just thoughts and prayers go out to the Miss Shannon and her children, and Cisco and her husband. Thank you, that's all I got to say.
Commissioner Rich, I want to say thank you for those comments. I was going to comment the same, and I was going to apologize that I did not remind everyone about that last meeting. Just a couple of notes for really calendar. ACCA convention is the week of 22 August. And we start tomorrow morning our budget meetings, and I think we start off first meeting with Public Works with that. We do have meetings tomorrow, Wednesday, and Friday morning, and that'll get us through our first round of meetings. So with that, let me say thanks to everyone for being here and participating. Our next meeting date is July the 25th, 2022. Do I have a motion to adjourn this meeting?
I'll make that motion.
We have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
We have a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Meeting is adjourned.